A new report published by Bloomberg New Energy Finance forecasts that more than half of US car sales in 2030 will be electric. Ford says that over the last quarter, its prices for parts gave it an unexpected $1 billion bill. $1 billion. Now, the problem here is gross margins. Ford doesn't have a whole lot to play with. To give you some context, over the past 4 years, in fact, no, let's look at the past 5 years. Over the past 5 years, Ford's gross profit margin on their cars has averaged 9%. Tesla, who Jim Farley says is their biggest competition, whether true or not, it doesn't matter, their margins for the last 4 years, 20.1%. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking, and I'm here to give you a warning. I'm warning you that even though Ford stock right now looks tempting, it looks tasty, looks like they're down and you should maybe buy on the dip, I'm warning you not to do so. I think I just gave you a pretty good example. One of the key reasons why Ford's stock price isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Now, I just want to say a big welcome to new subscribers on the channel. Great to have you here. And welcome back, everyone else. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Make sure you do so. If you haven't, a lot of people who watch this channel haven't subscribed and you watch regularly, which is a bit odd, but you'll get more of our videos in your feed if you are subscribed, just letting you know that. Back on the 1st of June, Ford said it was going to do something. It said it was going to reduce its costs. One of the key ways it said it was going to do that is by reducing its marketing budget. Now, the truth is Ford needs to revamp and overhaul its 100-year-old business model. From slashing advertising spending to reworking its dealer network. It's the only way if it's going to earn enough profit on electric vehicles to compete with Tesla and others, said Jim Farley himself. Now, he said that. He said if Ford doesn't slash its operating costs, it can't compete with Tesla. Well, that was back in June. Since then, Ford's operating costs haven't been slashed at all. They've done the complete opposite. In fact, Ford's costs for parts, depending on the part per car, have gone up by an average of 7 to 20%. 7 to 20%. That is information directly from Ford. That's not me speculating. That's not the media saying, hey, we think we heard this. It's secret information. It's none of that. It's publicly available information. Ford's costs have gone up by 7 to 20% since they made this comment in June. That is an alarming number considering their gross margins are 9% in comparison to Tesla's, who are 20%. The other thing worth considering is the fact that Jim Farley has also disclosed that Ford does not make a profit on its electric vehicles. Clearly, it plans on selling a lot of them. They're saying they're going to sell 2 million per year by 2026. What does that mean? Well, 1/3 of Ford's global sales, assuming they don't lose sales between now and 2026, which I think they will, but 1/3 of them, they won't be making a profit on unless something magic changes. Something needs to change in a big way, because if Ford's costs have gone up since they claimed they don't make a profit on EVs, then how much are they losing per car? It's got to be a lot of money. Now, if you don't think Ford is taking this seriously, the shift from internal combustion vehicles to EVs is, as Jim Farley said, the most exciting land grab in our industry since the Model T. That's what Farley said at the Alliance Bernstein conference. Now, Farley himself said that Tesla enjoys a massive cost advantage that has convinced the Michigan-based automaker to consider reducing or eliminating dealer inventories of unsold vehicles and following Tesla in selling some vehicles directly to customers. Now, Farley said back in June that Ford may have multiple tiers of dealers and some will be more specialized as the company launches a second generation of EVs in about 4 years' time. Farley himself said that Ford cannot be cost competitive until their new second generation EVs come out in 2026. That's 4 years of bleeding. How much bleeding can Ford do before things are, a bit too much for the company? I mean, obviously, it's going to be very hard for them to grow when they're bleeding like this. Same thing for GM. Ford, though, their situation actually in some ways is worse because GM is aiming to do what? They're aiming to go 100% electric. Ford, they want to sit on the fence. Jim Farley just said that within the last few days. He's saying that Ford is definitely going to aggressively pursue to try to increase its internal combustion engine vehicle sales. I don't know how they're going to pull that off, some sort of magic trick, but that's what he said they plan on doing. And to me, that suggests one thing. Ford are not all in. They say they're all in, but then they say completely opposing statements. For example, Jim Farley just said, right, Ford customers don't want an electric Bronco. They don't want an electric F-150, and they don't want an electric Mustang, and they can't get a good experience unless those vehicles are gasoline powered. I mean, that's someone who sounds either bipolar, like he's lying, or someone who isn't fully convinced that EVs are the future. I thought he had been convinced that they were, but I mean, obviously the story has recently changed. Since Jim Farley released those comments, Ford stock crashed. It was down 12%. And of course, along with that information, we also found out that Ford had a $1 billion parts bill that they weren't expecting that just came. And now, what I'm seeing is very dangerous. Lots of people saying, buy the stock. Seeking Alpha coming out, buy the stock, buy the dip, buy the dip. You know, Ford's got a great business model. Do they? Are you sure about that? I'm not convinced. This is the biggest disruption in history. Like it or not, like hearing me say this or not, it doesn't matter. This is the biggest disruption in history, and this is the biggest industry in the world, right? Have a look at the top 20 biggest companies in the world. It's dominated by the automotive industry. Dominated. That is changing. I mean, that automotive industry is being disrupted at an incredible pace. For example, 60% of the world's electric cars are sold and made in China. So one area Ford is planning on reducing spending, right, in order to cut costs in a way that Elon Musk talked about Tesla needing to do as well, is in advertising. Ford spends, depending on who you ask, one publication says $1,500 per car, but this year the numbers have gone down drastically. Ford now is only spending around $500 to $600 US per car on advertising. That was due to Jim Farley saying he was not convinced that Ford needs to continue buying advertising, especially for popular new electric models like the F-150 Lightning, which is sold out for the first year. In fact, it's sold out for about 4 years. And Ford spent $3.1 billion on advertising last year. $3.1 billion Tesla didn't spend, according to the company's annual report, compared to similar figures from other automotive companies, not named Tesla, of course. You know what the thing is, Farley said after that? He said this: if you ever see Ford Motor Company doing a Super Bowl on our electric vehicles, sell the stock. Well, guess what General Motors did this year? Guess what General Motors just signed up for? A massive NFL electric vehicle advertising campaign. Well, Farley is basically telling you, sell General Motors stock. Now, just doing a quick Google search of Ford stock price, you'll see there's articles aplenty. Yahoo, Finance. There's an opportunity with Ford Motor Company's 40% fall. Is now an opportune moment from Simply Wall Street. The list goes on and on and on. And under all that is Ford wants to grow its combustion engine business from Car Expert. And that's where you should start to see some alarm bells. Now, if you bought Ford stock all the way back in 1998, your investment would be worth 1/3 of its original figure. Ford stock price hit a high of $32.60 back in 1998. It's now sitting at $12.87. Of course, that doesn't include the cost of inflation over that period of time, which averaged around 2.5% per year, meaning your original investment, let's say you invested $1,000, today it would be worth less than $250. Now, Ford's price to earnings ratio of 5.1 looks very attractive, but the truth is, much more bleeding is in store. Think about it. If someone said to you, hey, Kodak, they're the world's biggest film company, Nokia, they're the world's biggest phone company, there's a disruption about to happen, but those stocks look very attractive. You should invest in them. You should invest in them. You would have hoped that at that point in time, someone would have come along and said to you, have some sense, think straight. Now is not the time. Now, my friends, is not the time to invest in Ford stock. That's my advice. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. But as always, have a great day, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.